Yay, channel news. Okay. As you can see, there's a conflict of lighting here. It's too bright back there and too dark here, but I don't care. I'm too tired to mess with the camera settings. Yeah, not much sleep last night. So, what's up in channel news other than Flint napping? The first thing that comes to mind, and it was funny, somebody thought that I was talking to somebody else on my videos. Like I'll say something and I'll make a funny voice in response, or I'll heckle myself and make a different voice, kind of, sort of. Well, this guy thought that I was speaking to other people through an app and having people ask me questions or heckle me or whatever. But no, it's just me. Okay. Uh, I'm gonna link a video for the newbies in the description of this video. Okay. But just basic introduction. My name is Patrick. The channel name is Jack Crafty, but my name is Patrick. Okay. People can call me Jack, and they do. It's fine by me. But that's just the channel name. Jack Crafty is the channel name. All right, and I'm getting about 200 new subscribers a week. 200 plus, sometimes up to 400. Especially when I did that Clorox bottle bottom video, I got 400 something subscribers per week for a couple of weeks there. That's a lot of new people who don't see me in the videos. So that's why I make these weekly channel news videos so people can see what I look like and know what they're dealing with. Right? I hope. Yeah. I goof around a lot more now than I used to when I first started the channel. And that's for a couple different reasons. One is when I first started my videos, I was very depressed, so I wasn't doing much joking around. Anyways, let's get into news about the channel, not me, not news about me. Yeah. All right. So today is probably the last day of really, really nice weather. Hopefully, because the shop back there, that's my little shop. There's a towel hanging in the doorway because it gets way too hot in the direct sunlight like this when it's above 70, which it has been. It's weird weather. This is almost the end of October. We're supposed to be in the 50s and 60s during the day, not 60s and 70s with almost 80 degrees. Okay, the channel, yeah. I'm trying to think of what's next. I wrote some notes this time, but I get a little bit lost because I have to go through my notes to find interesting stuff, because I'll just write down whatever comes to mind throughout the week. All right, so I described that. Yeah, a lot of new subscribers that never seen what I look like. Yeah, I'll often do like theorizing and philosophizing and throwing out ideas in my videos while I'm napping. And I won't tell you how to nap. I'll be just blabbing about something else. That seems to be the new MO with me. And I like it that way because it allows my subconscious to do a lot of the napping, and it's less stressful. So because I don't have to consciously think about what I'm doing. I know that might not make much sense, but it works. If I'm talking about something that's interesting to me besides the Flint napping, I enjoy it a lot more. Because believe it or not, most of the napping, I'd say 90% of the napping that I do on video is stressful for me. Maybe not for you, but for me it is. If I just do napping that's for personal use, I don't go very thin with my stuff. I get step fractures on my hunting points if I make a hunting point, or a knife, or a tool to work with wood. I'll have step fractures all over it. I don't care. But for the video, I try to do what I call damage control, which means I try to fix problems. And people, especially learning nappers like that sort of thing because they want to know how to overcome these issues. That's why I do it. Otherwise, I don't do it, and it's a lot less stressful. Yeah. So just so you know, that's just for your information. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Okay? All right. And I'm just telling you that I theorize and just speak off the cuff and maybe too much information sometimes because that's just the way I like to do my videos now. It's a lot less stressful, like I said. If I goof around during the video. Okay. I'm not the kind of person that enjoys the journey. Like if I'm having trouble napping, if it's a challenge to nap something that's really difficult to nap, like this is obsidian, but we call it dacite as flint nappers because it's not quite as glossy or fine-grained or glass-like as obsidian. The high-grade stuff like this or this, the transparent stuff. Some of this dacite can be extremely challenging, and if I nap it for myself, I'll just make a really thick point. But if I nap it on video, I'll try to make it thin, but it's very, very stressful. Right? I think I covered that enough. All right. Let's switch the subject a little bit. I was thinking about Stone Age people and the way of life. My son called me today, and he's buying a lot of new books related to Native American mythologies and religions because he studies that sort of thing. Religions from different countries and cultures and time periods. Okay, so he called me and he said, Dad, do you know a lot about Native American spirituality and ceremonies and ways of the ways that they developed their cultures and origin stories and myths and legends and all that? I said, well, I have looked into it somewhat because it's unavoidable when you're looking into how to make Native American stuff. You're going to run into books that have not only how to make bows and arrows or describing them, but how to make pottery, how to make buckskin shirts and clothing, and how to do beadwork and all that kind of stuff. And they also go into ceremonial practices, religious practices sometimes, because some of the items that are made, some of the flint napped items are actually ceremonial items. Like this one here, it's a very long obsidian blade. It's not done yet. I'm going to finish this on video. But these things were a lot of times used in ceremonies to represent knives. But in a ceremony, when you want to represent a knife, you don't usually just use a normal everyday crude thing. You want to get something nice in a ceremony. So they would make, very difficult to make items. So it does affect the flint napping. So you'll get some of that. So I said, yeah, I have researched a little bit into the ceremonial and religious aspects of Native American life and Stone Age life. So we talked about a little bit about that, and I wrote some notes down. The first thing that comes to mind is that I didn't tell him this, but I've been reading about Ishi the Indian and what his conceptions were around good luck and bad luck with napping and with his equipment, archery equipment. Okay, there's certain superstitions, we call them superstitions now, but they took them seriously back then. Superstitions about not letting certain people touch hunting items or warfare items. Like women and children were not allowed to touch anything related to hunting or warfare, or like their weapons and their knives and stuff. Strictly for men, right? Strictly for warriors and hunters. And Ishi had some of that in his culture and in his belief system. And also the way you store and take care of your equipment had superstitious elements to it. Like but it was based on fact in many cases. Like standing up a bow is bad for it. You need to lay the bow down flat when you're storing it. You don't store the bow standing up because it makes it tired, is what he said, or something to that effect. So you lay it down, I guess, so it can sleep well. But in fact, it does cause slight warping of the wood. If you stand it up against something over time, it will warp the wood. So it's better to lay the wood flat. But something that doesn't relate to something logical is the top of the bow should be where the top of the tree was. And Ishii believed that if you did it the other way around, it wouldn't shoot straight. If the top of the bow was where the ground was, it wouldn't shoot right. That has no basis in logic. That's just a superstition. Because it doesn't really matter it doesn't really matter if the top of the bow was closer to the top of the tree or not when you make a bow. It's all physics. Okay? It'll shoot bad if it's a wood that takes a lot of set, or a design that takes a lot of set when you're tillering it. If you don't know what those terms mean, that's okay. But what I'm saying is, not all his beliefs were based in actual fact, okay? And moral of the story is, some of the flint knapping, the reasons and the ways they did the flint knapping are not based in fact or utility or advantageous to the task. All right, they're just superstitious things. Okay? For instance, what? Probably, for instance, the ability to see through a point might have special significance, or the translucency, or the color of it, or the rareness of it. Like a lot of these high-grade points, or very fancy points, like cahokias. I don't know if you can see that. They're often made of exotic materials when they're high-grade. The high-grade ones were made from exotic materials in many cases. Why? It has some kind of religious or ceremonial significance, and not really based in utility or based on facts, because it doesn't cut any better. In some instances, it's harder to make, and you can't thin it down as much as another type of not really attractive stone. You can make these out of, just plain old stone that's either gray or tan. They don't look as nice, and they're not translucent like this one. All right? So yeah, moral of the story in that case, when it comes to flint knapped items, is that not everything pertaining to a flint knapped item has to do with utility or the use of it or in the practicality of the design. It's just something that is outside of flint knapping, that is either culturally related or spiritual related or superstition related. Okay? And I'll get into that when I'm knapping. Okay? That's why I include it here in the channel news. All right. Okay? Yeah. It's funny that I should just mess with people and do more of the voices. No, man, you shouldn't do voices because it gets confusing. Yeah, confusing people, but I think I might want to mess with people. I think I'm going to mess with people with that. Yeah. I think I'll do more of it. Yeah. I'll be sneaky. What else? I'm going to go over some more notes, but I'm going to change the subject because I got ADHD symptoms. I recently added balsamic vinegar to my soups, and it's pretty good. Yeah. I also notice when I drink this, if I'm watching myself drink, I'll make a funny face. So I better not watch myself drink this. Wow, it already cooled down quite a bit. It's like 60 degrees. It was 70 something earlier. I mentioned this before, but this is my favorite time of year because I like the fall. I like all the leaves. I like the smell of the air in the fall. It's my favorite, but something's been bugging me as far as allergies go. But anyway, hopefully I'll be doing this no matter what, once a week, no matter the weather or if it's my favorite time of year or not. Yeah. Anyway, I'm doing soups and smokes within these channel news videos. So the latest development, I've got here chicken bouillon, a little bit of chicken bouillon and balsamic vinegar as a soup. You call hot water, of course. Okay, but it's cool now. It's cooled down quite a bit. I got the idea for the balsamic vinegar from a video that I saw that it can help regulate absorption of carbohydrates and sugars and stuff. I don't personally eat much carbohydrate at all or sugars at all anymore because it gets me fat, and I was experiencing symptoms of diabetes. I was pre-diabetic. So once I changed my diet, not only did it change my energy level, which went up quite a bit, but it changed my mental outlook. Yeah, my mental health didn't improve with just the diet. It just wiped away kind of a lot of the bad chemicals in the brain so that I could start developing good habits or good attitudes or good environments for myself. Because I don't know about you, but misery likes to stay miserable. Not only likes company, but it likes to stay miserable. It becomes your baseline or your business as usual type of feeling, and you want to stay in that. I'm looking for a word, but I can't remember what it is. Status quo, baseline. There's another word for it. Anyway, it becomes your normal, and you want to stay there. But once you clear up some of those bad chemicals, your normal starts to get different. And I noticed that when I changed my diet. And I'll mention that a lot because it's very important to me. And when I talk about autism and stuff, because autism runs in my family, I talk about autism sometimes. I talk about ADHD because ADHD is in my family too. Well, my ex-wife has ADHD, so my kids have it. Some of my kids have it pretty bad. That sort of thing. So I'll talk about it because I have experience with it. I try not to talk about anything I don't have experience with. Yeah, I try. Let's see. So getting back to people, Stone Age people, there are religious aspects to these Flint knappings. Another aspect is people in the past. I'm going to go out on a limb and say people in the past were living constantly in a survival situation. Very few times do you encounter people that are not living in a survival situation and they have some sort of structure set up so that every year they have enough food. Okay, whether it's some kind of collective effort to plant crops, because agriculture goes way back in the Americas, or curating certain resources, whether it's animal resources or plant resources. You know, you can plant trees that bear fruit pretty easily. You can graft fruit-bearing things to other trees. Like you can, you don't have to gather seeds to plant crops, although they did that too. You can use grafting to propagate plants. You can transplant plants by just digging them up, bringing them into one area that's easily defended. You can develop a cultural system to help produce enough food so that you don't have to be living constantly in a survival situation. But those scenarios are rare. most of the time, people back in the day, primitive, or what, I shouldn't say primitive, but Stone Age people were living in a survival situation constantly. And many of them were living like homeless people, wandering, and what they call transients nowadays. They would wander from place to place, and sometimes they'd live with one tribe, and sometimes they'd live with another tribe. There was constant conflict and different spheres of influence that you couldn't go into. So sometimes you had to move to new territories where no one lives, and maybe it was very dangerous in those areas as far as the animals go. So it was a hard life. So if you encounter something that's very special, very well made, it's probably from a culture that didn't have to worry too much about living hand to mouth. So since that was rare, it makes sense that these are rare too, and when they are, the ones that are very well made are very rare. Most artifacts are crude, and it reflects the lifestyle, because if you're living hand to mouth, or you're living like a homeless person, or you're living in a survival situation, you don't want to mess around with trying to get everything perfect. Okay? So, moral of the story is, if someone tells you, but if they're looking at a very well-made item and someone tells you that's how they're made, no. This is rare. Most artifacts are made in a crude, fast, or expedient manner. That's how they were made. If you want to generalize, generally, artifacts are crude. They're made by very skilled people, but people that didn't have time or the resources to spend on making stuff like this. Okay? Now, unfortunately, a lot of researchers and a lot of knappers will tell you, if you're not making them like the top 1% of how they were made, you're not making them like they were made in the past. You have nothing to say or contribute to the conversation unless you can do this. Okay? It's false. I do this and I make them thin like this because I'm a professional knapper now and I make money knapping. But if I want to tell someone how they were made in the past or what I think happened, I'm going to tell them that artifacts were crude, because they are. They were made expediently, because they were. They were made by people who are living hand to mouth or in a survival situation, or constantly pressed for time and resources. Okay? So that's how they were made. I'm not even going to get into the tools used to make them or the techniques. That's a different aspect, and I get into that in the videos. But in the news, I just want to generalize a little bit. How were they made? Tell us. They were made in expedient ways. Expedient, and with limited resources, limited time, many times limited energy, limited motivation, in a world of limits. Okay? They were not living in a world of unlimited bounty, even though it seems like it would have been bountiful because there were so few people, there would be so many more resources available. No, you have to be able to use the resources. Okay? You have to be able to live long enough to learn how to use the resources, for one. And number two, you have to have the knowledge. They didn't have the knowledge like we have now, where we can type in a question and we'll get an answer. They couldn't type in the question and then get an answer. They had to develop cultures, and they had to depend on their cultures for their knowledge. And some of the cultural things were superstitious or religious. So everything is affecting the knapping. Every part of the culture is affecting the knapping. Okay, that's how they were made. It's not just the skill, which it is very important. The skill, of course, is very important. And some of the cultures did have very highly skilled knappers, of course. But for the most part, and generalizing, these things were made in expedient ways. Okay. What else can I talk about? Yeah, do we have the world's information at our fingertips? Yes and no. Yes, it's at our fingertips if we ask the right questions, but today's information is like a landfill. There's just layers and layers of garbage media piled on top of the facts. You got to sort through garbage media to get to the truth. How do you get to the truth? You got to learn how to spot it, because you don't spot it by looking at people who say they have the truth. You have to know how to think. Today's discourse is run by people who are telling you what to think, not how to think. How do you... People know how to think. You're supposed to use logic and a scientific method and that sort of thing. Yeah, they know all that, but they don't know how to use it. They know what it means to be logical and to proceed with experiments and to be critical of information, criticize it to get to the facts. They know all that, but applying it is so frustrating because it's so much easier just to be supported in your opinion. Well, my opinion is da-da-da. Does anyone agree? Yeah? You agree with that? I'm going to stay with that opinion. Yeah, because I have agreement. Did I test it? No. Did you run an experiment, or did you criticize it, or is there contrary evidence? And they kind of, I got support. And intellectuals do this too. They get support and they get all happy. People online, they get support, they get all happy. They get a consensus, they're all happy. They get a study that supports what they do, what they're saying, they're all happy. All that is wrong as far as trying to get to the truth. Yeah, if you're the truth can be supported. Yeah, you can get support for the truth too. But the thing is, that's not how to pursue the truth. Once you have it, then you can lay back and get heaps of support. Fine, but you've got to know that you have it first. And that is through experimentation, through criticism, finding exceptions. If you find exception to something, it's probably not true. Right? So like I've said, if I say this is how they made things in the past, this is the skill for making these things. This type of skill is what is required for doing it like they did it. Okay, and you can get support for that because there are artifacts that are very well made. And they're all happy. But, like I said, most of the time, in fact, probably 90% of the time, this is not the skill that was used to make these. Okay? You only need rudimentary knapping skills to make something that will kill an animal. To haft it to a stick that'll kill either an enemy, a predator that's eating all your game animals, or the game animals themselves. Okay? You don't need advanced skills to make these. Although this one is made with advanced skills, you know what I mean. You can make items like knives and arrowheads and spearheads and clubs and all that with rudimentary skills or advanced skills, but the point is, it doesn't have to be perfect or excellent or beautiful, okay? Even though you can get support for the fact that there is artifacts made that way. And I used to think that unless I could be an extremely good napper, I didn't know what I was talking about. No. I've seen extremely skillful nappers that have no idea what they're talking about. Unfortunately, they do exist. And there are extremely skilled nappers that know what they're talking about. Now, I'm in the in-betweener. I'm an in-betweener. I can get something this thin And I have a lot of experience looking at artifacts, but I'm not an expert in knowing how they were made. I'm just using logical techniques to criticize and to examine the artifacts and to gather together ideas to experiment with, okay? And gather techniques to experiment with, come up with techniques that I can use to see if they work well or not. I'm an experimenter. I used to be more of a handicrafter, where I was focused mainly on being good at the handicraft. But when it comes to flint knapping, it's a little bit different. It is a handicraft, right? But since it involves a lot of chance, there's risk management involved in it. Since there is also very limited resources, both in time and material, that influences the knapping more than some other skills. Risk management is something that has influenced the way our brains have developed. Also, manipulation of an object under risk has influenced how our brains work over time. Our brains have developed over time with skills like this. So it's a little bit different than other skills, so I had to approach it in a little bit different way. It took me a long time to figure out how is the best way to approach this. So that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to approach this in a way that I can actually learn the truth behind these things. Okay. What else? I'm jumping around, I know. Yeah, we don't have all the information at our fingertips because there's so much garbage out there, so you have to know how to think, not what to think. Okay, that was the moral. When I hum, I don't hum any particular tune. Just so you know. Oh yeah, okay. Changing the subject a lot this time. Auctions. The last auction I had was kind of glitchy in a couple of ways. One, as I was cutting and pasting my pre-populated comments, YouTube warned me that I'm going to get stopped from commenting for 24 hours because it noticed that I was cutting and pasting into the comment section. Okay. All right. And then I had 2 people call me up or text me. Can you bid for me? Great. Now what do? I can't comment in my own comment section, so I can't enter their bids. What do? Well, one said, okay, it doesn't matter. The other one kind of gave me some insights in what he wanted to do. So I said, okay, I'm going to try to do this. So I had to log on as my other channel, and then I could enter comments into the comment section on my Jack Crafty channel. So I have an Allergic Hobbit channel. I logged into that channel and I started commenting, putting in bids for this guy who couldn't comment himself in my comment section for some technical reasons. I don't know what's going on. And I was able to comment. And then YouTube switched back on my comments because I wasn't thinking. I responded to someone in the comment section again back as Jack Crafty, and it worked. And I go, wait a second, I thought I was banned for 24 hours. Okay, so I'm back on. And this all happened just before the end of the auction, like in the last 20 minutes of the auction. I was scrambling to bid for someone else, and then YouTube unbanned me from commenting, so I was able to comment again just before the end of the auction. So I said to myself, I need to set down some rules for commenting or bidding for other people, and exactly when I'll do that and how I'll do that. Okay. Just in case something like this happens again where YouTube messes up and bans me from commenting because I cut and paste. Okay? Okay. So what I'm going to do is, since it's not fair for me, since I control the auction, to bid for someone else at the very last second, I'm going to limit when I bid for someone else. Like, I will not bid for someone else closer to the auction than closer to the end of the auction than 5 minutes. So if it's 9 p.m. Eastern, that's when the auction ends, I will not bid after 8:55 for someone else. That'll give other people time, that 5 minutes, to get their bids in. Okay? That's the fairest I can do. I told him that I could probably bid with 1 or 2 minutes to spare, but that's still too close to the end. So I'm going to limit it to 5 minutes before closing. They'll give people 5 minutes before closing to respond to the bid that I put in for someone else. Okay? I will not bid closer than 5 minutes to the end of the auction. All right? I can bid for you if you're having trouble. Yeah. Some people, sometimes, I don't know if they're working with outdated software or a browser that's kind of quirky or doesn't work well with Google or with YouTube. I understand. I can bid for you, but it's going to be sometimes a little bit glitchy. And if I have to do several people like that, which I hope I never have to, it could get messy. But I will do it. All right. I will continue to do it, but I will not bid closer than 5 minutes to the end of the auction. Someone suggested that I shouldn't bid closer than 20 minutes to give people lots of time. But there are some people who they go, oh, shucks, it's Monday. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's 8:50. I've only got 10 minutes left. Let me text Patrick and see if he'll bid for me. If you can get it in, if you can text me so that I still have 5 minutes before the end of the auction, I will bid for you in that case. All right? But not closer. If it's too late, it's too late. And I will hard close at 9 every time. I will not leave it open to let other people bid past the time of the auction. Okay, so that's the update on that one. Yeah, I can't be in a position where it's a conflict of interest, although it's probably slightly a conflict of interest with me bidding in my own auction. It seems kind of funny, right? I need to think about that. Me bidding for other people. Yeah. I will try to keep everything up above board. Yeah. That's the best I can do. Unless you can think of something else, I'm open to suggestions. Other than an open closing, I will not do the open closing or soft closing. I think they call it a soft closing, where you extend the time if they're sniping, bidding at the last second. I will not do a open auction at the end or a soft closing. I will not do a soft closing. It'll end at the top of the hour. Yeah. Yeah. I've been in a situation where I was thinking about doing a soft closing, and there's just too many people that want to bid at the last minute if that's the case. Yeah. And it wastes time. It wastes time, like I've said before. All right, so I try to have at least 5 items available in each auction. And I'm doing it as a courtesy and as a way for me to support my habit. I don't have to do it. No. I want to do it because it's good. It's good for the channel. Yeah. All right. What else? From time to time, I receive gifts from people, and I'll promote their channel or their business. And I have no problem with you promoting your business in my comment section. If you got something to sell, just let people know. I mean, you don't have to put an ad, you know, you don't have to write up a big old ad. You just say, I've got something to sell. You can text me, or you can contact me on Instagram or Facebook at this address. I think YouTube will let you do it. If not, just tell me and I can put your information down in there. Yeah, as long as I don't cut and paste, apparently. Okay. I discussed that. Yeah, if you got good stuff for flint knapping, I don't mind promoting your stuff. Oh yeah, how did they hunt in the past? I get questions on how were they hunting. All right? A lot of times they were hunting in ways that are not legal these days. Like you can't set up a snare for a deer. And there's no claw traps for deer, as an example. They didn't have claw traps back then, but they had pits with stakes that they would, especially in Europe, I don't know if they had stakes at the bottom, but they had pits that they would catch deer and elk, for sure. You can't use a pit to catch a deer these days. You can't use a disguise, like you can't put the head, you can, all right, but you're gonna get shot. You can put a head of a deer on your head, a fake one, and then a deer skin on your back, and then move up like a deer, disguise yourself as a deer so you can get close and shoot them with a bow and arrow. You can't do that these days unless you want to get shot. But I think there's clear regulations that you can't disguise yourself as a deer or a bear or something like that, which they used to do. You can't use decoys in many cases. Like you can't build a deer look-alike, I don't think. Most states don't allow you to decoy deer or decoy certain animals. I know you can decoy birds like turkeys and ducks and stuff, but can you decoy deer and elk and that kind of thing? I know you can call them in. The Native Americans used to use calls and stuff. That's still good. That's still legal. But the many hunting techniques in the past were used that are not legal today. Okay, so hunting was not always done with these kind of things. That's the moral of that story. All right. So just because maybe the tribesmen couldn't do flint knapping doesn't mean they couldn't hunt. And they don't have to depend upon this stuff. They don't have to depend upon these things for their livelihood. You can make an adequate or more than adequate arrowhead out of bone. So the flint knapping is not a skill that is imperative, like many people will have you believe. It's not imperative for survival. You can survive without it. In fact, many cultures did survive completely without flint knapping. Okay? And they survived very well. Okay? In fact, I think most points were made of either bone or wood. Just sharpened wood. And you can make a bow and arrowhead to look just like that. Doesn't have to be stone. And it takes a lot less time to develop the skill to do that. Okay? So yeah, back in the past, you didn't need to know how to flint knap. Okay? And increasingly, this is a little bit of off the subject, but increasingly I'm thinking that there were not that many flint knappers in the past. I think everybody knew about it because you need sharp rocks as tools for butchering. Many times your life would be completely miserable if you didn't have a knife to butcher. You would have to figure out some other way to prepare your food, your meats. Okay? It's not that easy to prepare meats without a knife, or to make clothing, buckskins and things like that if you don't have a knife of some sort. Right, yeah. I'm trying to think here. You can have flakes. You can have utilized flakes. You don't have to have a knife. So I should probably refrain from saying knife. Just flakes. Everyone knew how to make flakes. So they would use flakes, which are called utilized flakes in the literature when you look at archaeological papers and reports and articles and texts. Okay? So not everyone knew how to flint knap. And I think increasingly, I'm going more toward the direction that there were very few highly skilled knappers within the knapping community. So a lot of people knew about it, they could make flakes, but very few had the skill to make very fine items. And in those areas where they did exist, there must have been plentiful resources and food, plentiful stone resources and food resources. Okay? Okay. Or a successful lifeway in following a herd, for example, large herd, very consistent food source. Okay. Sometimes I get a question about poison. How common was poison? Poison was very common, but it didn't have to kill. It could just make weaker. It could make something weaker so that you could shoot it with a better weapon or chase it down and kill it. So poison was actually very common, but no one talks about it. One of the theories is that I've seen this. I've also thought about it. The serrations on some of these points, maybe they're as a way to increase the amount of poison that goes into the wound. If you dip the serrated arrowhead into poison, those little serrations, the spaces in between can hold poison, and also all those little prickly serrations can increase the amount of area where the poison can seep into the wound, or get into the bloodstream or into the tissues. Okay, so serrations may be, and this is just a theory, so I haven't tested it, of course, because it's inhumane to use poison when you're hunting, and it's illegal. I haven't tested it, but it's possible that serrations could be used to increase the effectiveness of poison. Okay, just as a side note. A side note to the issue of how did they hunt in the past. Okay. All right. I think I'm going to discuss some of these other things in some other video. It's already 47 minutes. Yeah. Okay. I think that's it. Unless there's something that I missed. If you can think of a topic that I might have covered, just type it in Jack Crafty and then whatever the topic is and do a search. You know, the little magnifying glass symbol, hit that one, and then you type in Jack Crafty heat treatment, Jack Crafty natural tools, Jack Crafty current tools, Jack Crafty obsidian knapping, or chert knapping, or Danish flint knapping. I might have a video on it, since I have now more than 2,000 videos. And I was asked if I'm going to do a special thing for my 2,000th video. I thought about that for a long time, actually. What can I do? I don't know. I got ideas, but I don't have time. Just give away money. Have a raffle for money. Just give away some money. I don't know what I can do. So I didn't do anything. Okay. Yeah, I can give away money. But it's just a flint knapping channel. It's not a Mr. Beast type channel. Let's see. I still need to get into other techniques. So people saying, what other techniques are there? I thought we've seen everything already. No. You mean there's more? Wait, there's more? Yeah. Wait, there's more. When am I going to get to it? I don't know. I do not know. Everything is, at this point, I'm still in the stage where I have to wing everything because I can't sit down and spend a lot of time preparing because I got lots of stuff to do. Stupid stuff and smart stuff. You know, I got a lot of stuff going on. I shouldn't have so much stuff going on, but the ADHD symptoms kind of clutter everything up because I got to do 100 things before I do one thing. Yeah. I get distracted. I got to do a bunch of other stuff before I sit down and do something. Like before I do the video. This kind of video. Believe it or not, I had to do 100 things before I came out here to sit down. And I didn't get any sleep last night. I had an appointment this morning. Yeah, so when I have an appointment, I can't do anything anything before that. I can't sit down and go, oh, I got an hour to do something. Let's do something. Yeah, just go back out there and nap something out. No, I can't do it that way because I'll start napping and dang it, I broke it and start napping again. And then, wait, I got 15 minutes to get to an appointment that's 20 minutes away. Can't do it. Because something always takes me too long because I have time blindness. I can't figure out exactly how much time it's going to take me. Because if I say, oh, it's going to take me only an hour, no. It could take me 10 minutes. It could take me 3 hours. I have no idea. And is that an excuse? No. That's just the way it is. And I will accept orders sometimes. Out of weakness, I will say, yeah, I'll help you out and I'll do something on the side. Yeah. Because, you know, I enjoy doing that too. But it gets to the point where I got so much now to catch up on that it takes me a long time to do something. Because I say, well, if I'm going to do this for this guy, I got to finish this other guy's stuff first. So I do that and I end up delaying the other thing. I don't know what to do other than simplify my life, and I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Let's see, what is it? Yeah, that's all I have related to flint napping. Okay, I'll see you on the next video.